right, so now we're going to shift gears a little bit, and we're going to start working our way this way across the guitar. Instead of working vertically, we're going to start thinking horizontally this way. And this is something I love to do when I play. So again, I'm going to be playing in the key of G major or E minor. I want you to be able to use all this stuff over the backing track that I'm giving you. Okay, and just practice these things. So now what we're going to be doing is, again, I have to know my guitar to a certain degree, and if you don't, you can certainly learn the things I'm showing you, but the more you learn about your fretboard, you can play these on different strings and, you know, play them in different positions and different things like that. So what I'm doing is I'm starting off down here, I'm playing 3, 5, and 7. So it's that same group of 6. It just looks a little bit different because I'm in a different spot, but I'm still in G major. So learning how to play that group of 6 is absolutely crucial to all of these ideas, these first ideas that we're doing right now, okay? So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to move up to the, I played 3, 5, 7. Now I'm going to move up to the 8th fret, and I'm going to play it backwards going 8, 7, 5. So I had 3, 5, 7, and then 8, 7, 5. Now that idea I used to practice a lot when I was younger, and I always called it a square or a box. I would just go up. And what I would focus on is this note and that note, which is a down. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down. You see, so over and over and over. Trying to find that down over and over and over when I play. Now, as I keep going, it's the same premise, but it's just going through all the various positions or notes of G major slash E minor, however you want to look at that. Okay, so as I'm playing, I've got 3, 5, 7, and then I move up, I've got 8, 7, 5, then I move up, I've got 7, 8, 10, move up, I've got 12, 10, 8. Move up again, I'm on 10, and this is where the shape gets screwy. So I'm going to play 10, 12, 13, 10, 12, 14. So the fingering is different, but it's still matching. I mean, the notes I'm playing here would be A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, which are all notes in the key of G. But it just feels weird because your fingers aren't symmetrical. All the way up to there, they were all symmetrical. You played these, and then these, and then these, and then these. But now, you got to play this. So 10, 12, 13, 10, 12, 14. Which means the next one, when we move up to 15 and we go toward the ceiling, it's going to be asymmetrical as well. It's going to be 15, 14, 12, 15, 13, 12. So I have... Okay, then what I'm going to do is move up again, and it's going to be asymmetrical again. It's going to be 13, 15, 17, 14, 15, 17. Okay, so now when I move up again, it's going to be 19, 17, 15, which is going to be the 3 that I initially started with. And then what I did was I got to end this somehow, so I went back up. I'm on 17 now, playing 17, 19, 20. And I just bent that up in sort of an Yngwie Malmsteen-ish fashion and then went back to the 19 here. See, like that. So if I play it nice and slow, it looks like this. Now, the one thing I do want to point out to you is that as you're playing this, there's a logical fingering that, for the most part, happens when you're playing groups of 6, okay? If you're playing like 5, 7, 8, normally I would use these 3 fingers. Now, you might be anti-pinky and have to do it a different way, and if you do, that's okay. Okay, you got to find what works for you. But for me, I'm just using logistics here. If I'm playing 5, 7, 8, it would be these 3 fingers. If I was playing 5, 6, 8, it would be these 3 fingers. If I was playing 5, 7, 9, it would still be these 3 fingers, okay? Because for me, I have a bigger stretch between my first and middle finger for the 5-7 and then the 7-9 here, as opposed to trying to do this and do 5-7-9. That's tough for me. Now I can do it, but it's harder for me to do that. It's easier for me to use my middle finger. So when we play what's called spread fingerings, okay, 3-5-7, 5-7-9, 7-9-11, that sort of thing. Okay, you're going to have to decide whether you want to use 1-2-4 or 1-3-4. And again, I suppose you could use 1-2-3 if you can stretch that far. That would be really tough for me. So I try and get people to understand that your pinky is actually incredibly important to your guitar playing future, right? But if you're one of those players that just absolutely denies using your pinky, then you're going to have to find a way that works. So as you watch me play this, you're going to see that's exactly what I'm using, is that logic. Here I'm using these 3 fingers. Here I'm using these 3 fingers. On the next one I'm using these 3 fingers, right? Which makes sense. Next one would be a spread fingering, so I'm on 1-2-4. The next one is where I run into a problem. So I have to use 1-2-3 because on the next string I got to use 1-2-4. You see? So I have to share the logic there. When I move up to the next one, again, I got to share that logic. So when I'm going backwards, I got 15-14-12 and 15-13-12. So I'm using, if I can get that guy out of the way for you, those 3 fingers. So I'm going from here to here. Next one, again, I got to use an illogic because it's an irregular shape. So I'm going my normal spread fingering to a 1-2-4. But I got to move that first finger up to be able to accommodate that. And then once I get here, I'm back on track. But this is where I want to show you my limitation. As I get into those thinner frets, those tinier frets, I tend to shift to a 1-2-3 where I logically should be playing a 1-3-4 because it just gets too tiny for me. So for me, when I get up to the 17, 19, 20, what I want you to notice, I'm using these 3 fingers. I'm not using these 3. And for me, it's just more comfortable for me to go here because by the time I get to those frets, they're so small that it just feels more comfortable for me to move into those. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that that's what you want to do. You might have made that shift prior to getting to the 17th fret. You might not make that shift at all. You might stay consistent all the way through. And all of those are okay. My point is I want you to be aware of it though. So as you're playing, you're aware of what's happening. It's not just frets and picking, but it's fingering. Like what fingers are you using and why? And is that working for you? And is there anything that you need to be thinking about? Because the more you expose any points that could be issue for you, the better you're going to get at this whole thing, right? It doesn't alleviate the practice and the metronome and the over and over and over repetitiveness of this. Of course, you got to do that stuff, right? But it certainly, from an intuitive standpoint, it starts teaching you more about you and the way that you play and the pluses that you've got and then the minuses that you've got. You know, what things are hindering your playing and what can you do about it? Or is there anything you can do about it, right? Because the more we understand about ourselves, the more we can start dealing with what kind of player we're going to become, whether we like it or not. Do we want to go this direction? And if so, what do we need to get better at? Or do we realize who we are and start taking this direction, whatever this is, because that's more realistic to who we are as a player? These are the choices we make all the time. So think about those as you're learning these